Now, you are all aware we had a very gruesome incident where the cow of Bukwo was brutally attacked and murdered. We continue to investigate the fatal shooting of the cow Bukwo district, Mr. Charles Robert Ogwanga. This incident occurred on the 8th at around 11 p.m. at KIRYOWA village, that is along BOMBO Road. The facts that we've gathered indicate how the cow traveled from Bukwo to Mbale on the 8th, together with his driver in motor vehicle registration number UG 0865Z. And while in Mbale, the cow had plans of traveling via Lira, but he later on abandoned the plans to travel via Lira and started by heading to Kampala with his driver called Eric Chemusto, 23-year-old. They reached Mukono at around 10 in the morning. They proceeded on private business in the areas of Buziga, Chisasi. They came back to Weyogerere and Chireka. There was a lot of movement on that day where the cow had a number of private engagements with individuals, some of whom we've identified. Later in the evening, he dropped his driver at Liberty Guest House in Chireka so that he could self-drive himself to Lira and eventually link up with his driver on Monday after him connecting from Lira and Mbale up to Bukwo. So after dropping the driver at Liberty Guest House in Chireka, it was after 9. He started his journey towards BOMBO Road, and our cameras managed to capture his movement from around the bypass up to Waise and on BOMBO Road. We've established that he was driving himself and he was alone. He was a single occupant in the vehicle. So he reached Waise roundabout at around 9:23 p.m., then proceeded to Kawempe up to Kagoma. Now, Kagoma, that is where he spent about 1.5 hours. We are trying to establish. He had a stopover around Kagoma and proceeded. Our cameras at Kiryowa picked his movement at around 12 minutes past 11 p.m. That is 11:12 p.m. And Kiryowa is before you reach KIRYOWA, which was the point where he was attacked. Our investigations have established that at KIRYOWA cell, Chiriamuli ward, that is Gombe, the victim was stopped by an armed group of strangers. So he parked aside. If you observe where the vehicle was, it shows that he parked aside after being stopped by strangers whom he probably thought were security personnel. And when he parked aside, he was approached from the passenger side, and the group of strangers inquired where Mr. Ogwang was, whether he was Mr. Ogwang, and he told them, I'm the driver. So they picked his wallet and also removed his phone. So upon checking the wallet, they noticed that he was the Mr. Ogwang whom they were looking for or targeting. So they fired several bullets at him from the passenger side and even set the vehicle on fire. Now, this account that I'm giving you is an account that we got from the medical staff at BOMBO when the victim was fighting for his life. He managed to give that brief narrative to the medical staff at BOMBO of how he was stopped at KIRYOWA cell. We also got a very clear account from two other victims who were on a tuk-tuk, that is a tricycle, registration number UFF 849H. They were also around the vicinity, driving towards the BOMBO side. So when bullets were fired, they managed to escape. They abandoned the tricycle and fled for their lives. Now, at their hiding point in the bush, they managed to take time to witness what was taking place. And they narrated how the attack was being recorded by one of the suspects who had a smartphone and was recording what his colleagues were doing, shooting at the victim and also setting the pickup on fire. So we do strongly believe that the victim was targeted. The killing was not random, but premeditated, pre-planned, and targeted. At this stage, the motive of the fatal shooting has not yet been determined, but we rule out robbery. This was not a robbery, or it was not an act of domestic terrorism. We believe it was a targeted murder, and so far we have 4 suspects who've been arrested, including the driver and another suspect who was arrested when our response teams from Gombe Police Post combed the area and they got a gentleman who was hiding in the bushes. We also recovered 26 cartridges, which means 26 bullets were fired at the victim. We recovered a gray jacket, a gun butt, we got blood specimen, and even we got cans of yogurt, which means that this gang could have been aware of the movement of the cow at a later stage from Kampala to Lira. So they must have spent some time lying in wait at that position where they attacked the cow. We appreciate that an incident of this nature causes panic and understandable concern in the public. We, however, want to reassure the public that we have leads that will help us establish the full circumstances of the incident and identify all those culprits who are responsible for this senseless act of murder. That's the brief so far from that side.